Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs on Carrie.
The great pig slaughter scene from Carrie. We had to tone that down a little bit. Not to be confused with the squeal like a pig scene from Deliverance. Remember when they did the musical version of Carrie on Broadway? What were they thinking? It ran for 5 performances sometime in the mid-'80s. In fact, Betty Buckley was in it, but instead of playing the girls' gym coach, she switched roles and played the mom. Can you imagine what kind of songs that they wrote for Carrie's mom in the musical? You're going to burn in hell, so let's dance. I don't know. Can you imagine a big Broadway chorus line going, a pig slaughtering? Here we go, a slaughtering, a slaughtering. That had to be tough. Anyhow, we've got the non-musical version of Carrie tonight, although it does have the creepy score of Pino Donaggio. Brian De Palma movies always have good music. He worshipped Hitchcock, so he loves to play around with music, creep you out with those musical sounds. Just listen to this when Carrie gets all dressed up for the prom. Roll it. You notice how sometimes Sissy Spacek looks real ugly? And they highlight all her freckles? And then when they want her to look beautiful, they make the freckles all disappear. I've known girls like that in real life. You know, you got to catch them in just that right light, or you could end up ducking that goodnight kiss. You know, doing that old, oh, I have to get up at 6 to drive to Houston kind of thing, you know. And the thing is, one day before, you thought she was a supermodel. I hate that.
No football, no problem. Kicks off Saturday at 8:05 Eastern and goes into overtime Sunday on the Superstation.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs on Carrie.
You know, feminists don't like this movie. They've written a lot of articles about it. They think it's a sick view of women, both Carrie and her mom and all the girls at the school. It makes women look manipulative and too concerned with their looks and ashamed of their bodies and hysterical about religion. And one writer called it the greatest put-down of women ever made. So I think I should take a moment here to state the official Monstervision position on the treatment of women in Carrie. And that position is, these are hot babes. We like looking at them. Okay, roll it. I hate to take time out for political issues like that, but you know, they've come a long way, baby. Hear them roar. Right on. More daycare centers.
Joe Bob Briggs on Carrie.
Ooh, Piper Laurie slashing that produce at home. Anyhow, I love that scene where Sissy Spacek and William Catt get lost on the dance floor and twirl around like crazy. The way they did that, they were on a spinning platform, and the camera was on a device that moved in the opposite direction of the spinning platform, and they had to say their lines at the exact moment that the camera was on their faces as they moved. It's really a beautiful scene, I think. It's one of those Brian De Palma things that he copies off of Hitchcock. This was his 10th movie, but it's considered his breakthrough film, and all the reviews said, De Palma does this, and De Palma does that, and isn't De Palma cool? And you know what was funny to me about the reviews? There was practically no mention of Stephen King. It was all Brian De Palma. Hell, there was more mention of Lawrence D. Cohen, the writer who adapted the novel, than there was of Big Steve. Pauline Kael, she wrote this 19,000-word review without saying anything about Stephen King. And this was Big Steve's first novel. It was the first movie made from one of his novels. I just think the guy should have got more credit. Maybe Brian De Palma is not the only genius involved here, you know? Sorry, but stuff like that just kind of burns my bacon. Steve's up in Maine, wondering why his monthly royalty check was only $70 million this month instead of $80. He could probably care less that De Palma gets all the credit. But he thought the whole thing of, you know, the 16-year-old girl, she has her period, she doesn't know what's happening, mean girls throw Kotex at her. He thought that up. She starts teleporting stuff to compensate. Anyway, if you're watching, Steve, we remember. Monstervision remembers. Okay, back to the flick. This is a really, really good part right here. Not that I ever suck up to Steve or anything. I would never do that. Did you guys see me in the stand, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Some people, yeah, many people thought I was brilliant. I think that might be going a little too far, but don't say that. Hey, Joe Bob Briggs still here. Great surprise ending. In case you were wondering, that was Sissy Spacek's arm that came up out of the grave. Brian De Palma was going to use a stunt woman, but Sissy insisted. She thought people might recognize her arm. So she got down inside there and thrust her hand up through those heavy rocks and scratched herself all up and darn near broke off Amy Irving's arm, pulling her down. The other thing I should mention is that in that great scene where Carrie crucifies Mom with the flying kitchen knives, they do a direct steal from Psycho. Those are the violins from Psycho, as composed by Edward Herrmann, the composer who worked for Hitchcock. And Herrmann had already died, which is a good thing, because he would have hated that. He believed that you wrote a piece of music for a specific scene, and then you should never use that music again. But Brian De Palma thought otherwise. Okay, Theater of Blood with Vincent Price coming up in a minute, but I want to remind you that next Friday night we'll be live from New Orleans, right in the center of all the Super Bowl excitement. The movies are The Neptune Factor and When Time Ran Out, and then on Super Bowl Sunday we'll be on again for a special all-day edition of Monstervision. We're showing a quadruple feature. Starting at 2 in the afternoon, we'll show The Omen and The Lost Boys and Deadly Friend and Midnight Offerings, and that last movie will slop over into the Super Bowl for those of you who might be channel surfing in and out of the game, or for you ladies who hate the Super Bowl. Anyhow, we're going down there to get crazy and drink too many pina coladas and gamble away all our money and occasionally record some TV shows, so check that out. And speaking of crazy people, we're about to watch one of Vincent Price's looniest roles. Theater of Blood is the one he made in 1973 when he had been established for years and years as the leading man in horror flicks. And it's famous among actors because it's about this Shakespearean actor who kills off the critics of London one by one, reenacting a death scene from a famous Shakespearean play each time he commits a murder. And Vincent does so many costume changes and so many disguises and so many accents and so many famous scenes from the plays, and he works with so many of the finest Shakespearean actors in London that you just watch this thing and you just go, amazing. The story is kind of predictable, but you don't really mind due to the element of not being able to wait to see what Vince will do next. So, anyhow, let's look at those drive-in totals. We have 9 dead bodies, 2 baked poodles, zombie attack, critic ripped to pieces, spear through the heart, critic dragged through the streets, blood draining, head on a milk bottle, heart in a box, smothering, wine barrel drowning, heart carving, beauty parlor electrocution, 1 motor vehicle chase with crash, throat stuffing with plunger, 1 train wreck, burning theater, head rolls, sword play, hypodermic foo, 4 stars. Check it out. We'll be back with a little mailbag, some other nonsense, too ridiculous to go into right now, and that's it. A lot of death going on tonight. Great body count tonight for the combined double feature. Not that we encourage anything in bad taste. Each and every death in the following movie is necessary to the plot. I want to make that clear right now. Some people misunderstand what we're trying to do. I am opposed to death. I won't have death in my own home. Thank you.
We will return.